Hello friends, welcome to kodEdge. In this lecture, we are going to understand one of the most important component in Spring AI, the prompt and the prompt template API. Let's start by understanding what a prompt template actually is. Prompt is an input or instructions that you send to an AI model to tell it what you want it to do. It could be a simple question, a detailed instruction, or even a block of text for the model to complete. The way we structure these prompts significantly impact how the AI responds. To make prompt reusable and dynamic, Spring AI introduced the concept of prompt template. So this approach helps maintain a consistent prompt structure while dynamically adapting to different user input. To understand the concept of templating, we can look at how it used in other part of Spring ecosystem. In Spring MVC, we pass data dynamically to templates like JSP or TimeLeap using model attributes by which we inject value at runtime. For example, in this line, that is a welcome username is a template. Here username is a variable. At runtime, it's replaced with an actual value like Swapnil to generate the final output. Similarly, in Spring JDBC, we don't concatenate SQL string. We use placeholder like question mark and bind parameters safely using prepare statement. So this query is a template where question mark act as a placeholder and values such as 101 is later bound to this placeholder before the query is executed. So Spring AI follows the exact same pattern. Instead of hardcoding AI prompt, we use placeholders and substitute value dynamically. For example, in this template, that is hello username, can you suggest an travel itinerary for city? So here the curly brace denotes the placeholder. And let's say we pass the values for the username as a Swapnil and Tokyo, which we will get through the system or the application at the runtime, which will get generated prompt like hello Swapnil, can you suggest a travel itinerary for a Tokyo? So this makes the template reusable while allowing you to inject dynamic values for each user or a request. So in the previous lecture, we learned to use chat client with a fluent API style for interacting with AI model. There we called the user method for user messages and system method for system messages. But instead of chaining this every time, Spring AI provides a prompt class, a structure object that acts as a container for all messages and chat options. So this prompt class brings everything together, message, context, and model configuration, allowing you to manage AI conversation in more organized way. So this prompt class contains two parts, a list of messages that defines the role and content of the conversation, and the chat option object that specify the model level options like temperature, token limits, etc. So each message inside the prompt implements the message interface. And the message interface itself extends the content interface, which means each message contains not just text but also metadata that describes its purpose and the role. And each message is categorized by message type, also known as a role. Now let's look at the roles in the Spring AI conversation. So there are four primary roles. First is a system role. So this role provides high-level instructions and rules to the AI model before the conversation begins. It sets the AI persona, tone, or specific constraints for the entire conversation. Next is a user role. So this is actual input from the user like the question, commands, or a request. Next is a assistant role. So this role is for the AI responses and it helps maintain the flow and the context of the conversation by tracking the AI's previous output. And last one is a tools or a function role. So this used to return information from the external APIs or tools that AI model can call to perform tasks or get real-time data. And these roles are mapped using this message type. So all these roles are implemented through the message API. So at the top you have content and the message interface. The content interface holds the primary text and metadata. There is also a media content interface for handling media data. So each message is categorized by this message type. So this message interface is extended by various concrete implementation like system message, user message, assistant message, and tool response message. each corresponding to specific role we just discussed. So that's all about the theoretical part. Now let's see this in actual demonstration. So let's go to the Spring Initializer and let's create the base project. So group name I am giving as a com.kodEdge.tutorial. Artifact I am giving as a Spring AI tutorial 4, or I can say lecture 4. Let's use the JDK 21 and let's add a dependency. So first dependency for the web and the second dependency we are going to add for the Open AI. In the previous lecture, we used the Olama as a local model which we ran on the local system. So you can use any one out of these two. I am selecting OpenAI and let's generate the project. So let me open this project in the IntelliJ. So once the project is initialized, first thing we will add OpenAI API key. So let's go to the application.properties file that will be in the resource folder. And let's add this property Spring AI OpenAI API -key. And let's go to the OpenAI and let's select the API and select the setting. And you can see API key option here. Click on the create new secret key. So I'm just giving the test key as a name. Project will be default and let's create the secret key. So let's copy this key and paste into the application.property. So this is a demo lecture. That's why I'm pasting this key in the application.properties. In real project or in a prod application, you should not paste your API key into the code base, or you should not push the key in the GitHub repository. Okay. Now let's create a new controller class here. I'm giving name as a prompt controller. So let's annotate this class with the REST controller and let's create our chat client object. And let's initialize this object using the constructor. So here you will have to use the builder. And here you can use the .build method. Okay, so our object is initialize. So in this demonstration, I am going to take example of expert travel planner, which will plan our itinerary. So let's create our first API. I am giving name as a get itinerary. Okay, and it will take input from the user. It will be request param, and let's take in the variable ask. Let me give name to the API, that will be get mapping, and I'm giving name as a /itinerary. So here what we will do, first example we'll take for the system message and the user message. So if you remember in the last lecture, we created the API call like this, chat client dot prompt, then dot user, and in the user message we provided the user message, let's say XYZ. Then in the system method we provided the system message. Okay, then we created the call and then we get the response from the AI model, right? So this is how we call the AI model in the last lecture. But in this lecture, we are going to create separate object for the user message and separate object for the system message. Okay, so let me remove this part and let me create first object. So I have already created the string for the object. So this is a string. So what I'm saying, you are an expert travel planner with 15 plus years of experience in creating the personalized itineraries, budget optimization, and destination expertise worldwide. Okay, so this is my system message. So let's create the system message object. So how you can create? Let's use the system message class and let's pass this string to the system message constructor. Next, we will create the user message. So user message will be what the user is going to ask to our system. So this will be the default behavior of our system, that is for AI model, to which you don't have to give context from the user. So normally what happens, you will have to give this context first whenever you call the API or AI model. Then you will ask the related question related to this domain. But in this example, we are already providing the system message to the AI model. So for the user, they don't have to provide this context to the system. They can just ask question related to this expert travel planner domain. So let's create the user message, and to the constructor we'll pass ask that we are getting from the user. Now let's create the prompt object, and to the prompt we'll pass the list of messages. So first will be the system message, comma, user message. Okay. Now we will call the AI model. So just use the object chat client dot prompt, to which we will pass the prompt object, then call dot content. So first API is created with the user message and the system message. So let's run the project and call this API. So let me run the main class. Okay, so the application is started. So let me open the Insomnia. So I have already created all the APIs. So this is our first API. Okay. So I am asking create a 3-day travel itinerary for the Japan. Okay, simple question I'm asking. I am not providing the context to the AI model. Now let's see what response we get. So you can see it has provided the response with the detailed itinerary. Now next we will see how to create the prompt template. So here we use simple prompts. In the next API we will create for the prompt template, where we will take the dynamic variables or dynamic input from the user, and we will replace this message with the dynamic inputs. So let's create a new API, get mapping, and this time I'm giving name as a basic itinerary. Let me create the method. Okay, so parameter I will explain later once I create the prompt template. So let's create the prompt template. Let's use the class prompt template, and to this prompt template we will pass the string. So I have already prepared the string to pass to this prompt template to save some time. So I'm passing the same thing here. You are an expert travel planner with 15+ years of experience in creating the personalized itinerary, budget optimization, and destination expertise worldwide. And on the top of that, I am providing few more context to the AI model, where I am saying create a day travel itinerary for destination. So this is our placeholder. So this days and destination we will take from the user. On the top of that, I am providing the destination, duration, budget, and provide these things like day by day itinerary, recommended restaurants, budget breakdown, and cultural tips. Okay, so this detail we want from the AI model, and these are the days, budget, and destination we will take from the user. So how to take this parameter from the user? Let's use the request param. Okay, so I'm using the request parameter, destination, dates, and budget I'm taking from the user. Now how to pass these parameters to this prompt template? For that, you can create the prompt object. Okay, so this is how you can create the prompt object. I'm just using the same object, that is prompt template dot create, to which I'm passing the map. And in the map, I'm passing the key as a destination that we use in the string template. And this destination is coming from the user. Same for the days and the budget. Now next we'll use the chat client and call the AI model. So prompt, in the prompt we'll use this object that we just created, dot call dot content. So how we created the object? We created the prompt template. In the prompt template we pass these keys, and then based on this prompt template we created the prompt object, and this prompt object we provided to the chat client, and we are calling the AI model. Now let's call this API from the Insomnia. So let me run the project again. So this is our next API, that is basic itinerary. So this is my parameters, like destination, I want to go to the Japan, plan for 3 days, and my budget is $2,000. Let's send this request. Okay, so we got the response from the AI model. So you can see it has provided the day-wise itinerary. Then it has provided the total budget breakdown. Then it has provided the cultural tips, and it must have provided the restaurant as well. It has provided the restaurant recommendation as well. So these are the points we ask in the prompt template. Now next what we will see how to pass the role to the AI model. So let me stop the application. So let's create a new API. So I'm giving name as a role-based itinerary, and method name I'm giving as a role-based itinerary. So here I'm going to create the system message like this. So here what I'm saying, you are on this role with expertise in destination planning, budget optimization, and the personalized travel recommendation. And these are the same thing we asked in the previous example. Okay, so this parameter we are going to take from the user. Now next create the prompt template. So I'm taking the same prompt template we use in the previous API. So here I'm taking parameters days, destination, and budget from the user. So let's create a user message to which we pass this days, destination, and budget. So here I am passing this destination, days, and budget to this user message. And from where this destination, days, and budget will come, that will come from the user, and which we will take as a request parameter to this method. Lastly, let's create the prompt object to which we will pass the list of user message and the system message. And let's call the AI model using chat client object. So let's use the prompt. To prompt, we'll pass the prompt object, then call dot content. Now let's take this parameter from the method parameters. Okay, so let me annotate this with the request parameter. So what we did in this API, we created the system message to which we are passing the role. Then we created the prompt template. Then we created the user message to which we are getting the destination, days, and budget from the user. Then we are calling the API or AI model. Okay, let's run the project and call this API. So this is our next API, that is role-based itinerary. Now I am here passing the destination as Japan, days as a 3, budget $2,000, and this is the role, that is expert travel consultant. Now let's call this API. Okay, so you can see we got the response from the AI model, and it is giving the response using this expertise travel consultant. So you can give different types of roles to this AI model. Now next what we will do, here we are passing the template string in the API itself, correct? Here as well we pass the template string in the API. But what we can do, we can create a different file, and from that file we can pass this string to our prompt template or system message. So let me stop this application and let's create the new API, which I am calling as a resource template itinerary. Method name I am giving as a resource template. And here what we are going to do, we are going to extract this thing into the separate file, plus we will replace, or we are going to add a placeholder into that file, which will get replaced with the actual user input. So let's create a new file here in the resource folder. So I am creating a new directory here. I am naming as a prompt. And this directory, I am going to create a new file called travel-itinerary-detail.st. Okay, so I am giving extension as a .st, and details I am passing like this. Okay, same thing. So if you see here, you are an expert travel planner with 15 plus years of experience. Same string I am passing in the file now. And also I am taking the placeholder, that is days, destination and the budget from the user. Now how to get this file into the API, how to pass this parameter, let's see that. So let's go to the API that we are going to create. Now to read this file, we are going to use class called SystemPromptTemplate, to which we will require the file object. So how to create the file object? So let's initialize one object here, private resource, that will be from the Spring, and I'm giving name as a detailed template. And how to link this object to our file? Let's use the annotation at value, to which we will pass the class path. Okay, so this is the class path. If you see here in the resource folder, we have directory called prompt, and in the prompt directory we have this file. Correct? Now let's use this detailed template object in our API. So pass it to the system prompt template constructor. Now let's create the prompt template, and to the prompt template let's use this object system prompt template dot get template, and let's take this user inputs. So let's copy this from here, and let's create a prompt object, and let's return the chat client dot prompt, to which will pass the prompt object dot call dot contain, and let's take this from the user input. Now let's start the application, call this API. So this is our next API, that is resource template. So destination I am passing as Japan, days I am passing as a 3, budget I am passing as a 2000. So this is going to get replaced in the file template. So let's call this API. Okay, so you can see we got the response from the AI model, itinerary for the Japan for the 3 days, and the budget for the 2000 USD. So it has given the detailed itinerary for the 3 days, overall budget breakdown, and the cultural tips. Now next what we will see, how to provide the conditions in this prompt within the file itself. So let me stop the application and let's create a new API. So here I'm giving name as a conditional template. Let me create a method public string conditional template. So let me create a file for this API. Let's go to the prompts and let's create a new file. So file name I'm giving as a travel-itinerary-conditional.st, and this is my string in the file. So what I'm providing, you are an expert travel planner, create a travel itinerary for this destination. So this will be our placeholder, and these are the trip details. We need destination and the duration. Now if the user provide dates, in that case it will show the detailed planning based on the days. If user provide budget, in that case it will show the budget breakdown. But in case if user doesn't provide budget, so I am expecting our AI model should not provide the budget breakdown in the response. So let's create our API. So before this, let's go to the top of this file and let's take this file object. So resource name I'm giving as a conditional template, and this will be our file path. Correct? So in the prompt, we have this file. Let's use this template in the API. So let's create a system prompt template object here, to which we will pass the resource, that is conditional template. Then from user, we want to take the inputs, right? So let's use the annotation request body this time. And here we are going to accept the map, which will be of the type string, comma, object, and request. Okay. Now let's create a message of the type system message, let's use the system prompt template dot create message, to which we will pass this request object. Okay, so this time we are creating message in a different style. Now let's create a prompt object, to which we will pass the system message that we just created. Now let's return the response from the AI model. Okay, so what we did, we created the conditional template, then we are taking request object from the user, then we are creating the system message. This time we are using the system prompt template to create the message using the request that we are getting from the user. Then we are creating the prompt object and we are passing the prompt object to this chat client to call the AI model. Let's run the project and call this API. And let's go to the body. And here I'm passing destination as a Bali, days as a 4, and let me skip this budget. So in the response, we just want destination and the dates. So let's call this API. Okay, so you can see it has given the response based on only the days. Now next what we'll do, in the previous API, if you saw, for the placeholder, we were using the curly braces. Now what I wanted to do, I want to customize this. Instead of braces, I want to use something else. So I'm going to create a new API in which I'm going to use the different style for the placeholder. So let's create a new API. So I'm giving name as a custom template render, and this will be my method name. Okay, let's use the same parameter that we use in the previous examples. So let me copy paste this destination, days, and the budget. Okay, now what I want to use, I want to use the angle bracket for the placeholder. For that purpose, what we can do, we can create the object for the StTemplateRenderer. So I'm giving name as a StTemplateRenderer for the object, and let's create an object StTemplateRenderer dot builder, in which you want to start delimiter token by using the angle bracket like this, and end delimiter token will be like this. And let's build the object. Okay, so what I'm saying, instead of curly brace, I want to use this angle brackets for the placeholder. Now let's create a prompt template. So I'm going to use builder this time, to which I'm going to pass this renderer that we just created. So StTemplateRenderer dot template, in which we'll pass our object dot build. So in the template, we will pass the template string. Okay, so what I'm saying, you are an expert travel planner, plan days, day itinerary for destination with the budget. This is USD. Now, if you notice, I am using angle brackets instead of curly braces. Now, next, let's create a prompt object and then call the AI model like this. So here I am creating the prompt object, to which I am passing the user inputs and calling the AI model. So let me run this project and call this API. So let me use this API. So this will be the parameters. Destination will be Japan for the 5 days and budget will be $2,000. Okay, so this is our API for the custom template renderer. So let's call this API. Okay, and we got the response from the AI model based on these inputs. So what we saw in this API, we use the angle bracket instead of curly braces. So let me summarize what we learn in this lecture. So first we use the system message and the user message and call our AI model. Now if you go to the system message, it is extended from the abstract message. And abstract message is getting extended from the message. And message is an interface which is getting extended from the content. So as we saw in the introductory part of this lecture, so this is a top level interface, that is a content which has a text and the metadata. which is then get extended by the message, which has a message type. And we saw all different types of messages, that is user, assistant, and system and tool, which then get extended by the or implemented by the abstract message. And this is one concrete implementation of the message. And here you can see this message type is system. Same for the user message as well. Okay, so you can see message type is user here. Okay, so in the upcoming lecture, we will see example for the assistant message and the functional message. So that's it for this lecture. Thanks for watching the video.